Well, folks, here we are again for the weekly forecast. Before we take a look at the main forecast, let's take a retrospective look at what's happened over the last 7 days. Last week we talked about a storm system that would be coming out of the western United States, and depending on how that system evolved, we could see some significant weather somewhere in the central or southern plains. Well, the storm system did come out about a day later than normal, and actually we've seen the southern portion of that energy come out before the northern part. That is why we've seen some widespread rainfall across eastern Nebraska with some isolated pockets of moderate rainfall, but most locations were generally under 1/10 of an inch with a few up to 1/4 of an inch. And now we're paying attention to the cold front that has moved through the state and has given us much cooler conditions, also resulted in some significant snow across portions of the Dakotas and Montana that basically put snow back onto a snowpack that had disappeared. So we've reestablished a firm snowpack in that region, and some of that actually made it up into the northwestern corner of the Panhandle and portions of north central Nebraska. Now, as we go forward in time, it doesn't appear that there's much in the way of significant weather. We definitely will see some cold weather for the next couple days, and then we are going to see moderating conditions before we start to pay attention to another piece of energy moving down the pipe from Canada sometime late next week. So let's take a look at the upper air models and see what we have in store. And the first thing I'll draw your attention to is, even though the first piece of energy that came out earlier in the week is now already exited out of the northeast, we kind of getting a remerging of these two systems, but you're seeing most of the energy up in the Dakotas. So most of this energy down to the south of us is not going to result in any significant moisture. It's pushing that moisture well up to our north and to our east. And behind this, we're seeing so much colder weather, and that's going to intensify as we go into tomorrow, as you start to really see the system wind up, and it's going to start to draw down some very frigid air into our region. We should see basically fairly calm conditions. The winds will start to lighten up. Nothing in the way of significant moisture, unfortunately. And as we go into Monday, we'll see another piece of energy to our south and this main core up to the north. And we're kind of caught between both of them. So we're going to be in the cooler conditions with nothing in the way of any moisture around our region, unfortunately. Now, as we go into the day on Tuesday, you'll see that that system tries to make its way toward the Great Lakes. So the energy is going to be from basically southwestern Texas all the way up into the eastern Corn Belt. We're left high and dry, but we have this very cold weather that's going to move into our region. The good news is, by the time we get to Wednesday, we're going to see this trough shift to our east, and warming conditions will start to take place. And that will continue as we get into Thursday, as we see some moderation. But there are signs as we get into Friday that another piece of energy is going to try to start slipping its way down into our region and bring much cooler conditions. So as we go to the temperature forecast, we're looking at some very cold conditions early in this week, and you'll start to see this general modifying trend in the east as we make it up into the upper 30s, out west easily into the upper 40s before we start to cool down on Friday. 8 to 14-day forecast indicates the cold weather will continue. In terms of precipitation, most of the significant moisture will remain to our west with dry conditions Nebraska westward.